Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, places Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, plus living, existing in that beautiful limbo between save files. I think, I don't know, maybe this is post save file merging. This is a terrible start, except all of our stats are great, except HP. Speed's fine, rate of fire's good, great even. I would say 10 is good, anything below that is even better. Damage is great. Glowing Hourglass is very scary, because there's good potential, but an enemy that does 1 damage to us could wipe us out. But, you know, I've taken to saying it on the other save file. Why don't we just port that over to this save file? I'm not intending on taking any damage, so I'm thinking that we're probably just going to be fine. Wait, that's not what I said. On the other save file, I say, welcome back to Northernlion never loses in the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. This is not necessarily the same thing as not taking damage, although they do have a certain je ne sais quoi in common. What does that mean in French? I don't know. It actually means I don't know. That's the joke is a polymorphic joke. You wouldn't understand it unless you did what every Canadian in Ontario did at least, and you know, take like 6 years of French class and remember approximately 0% of it as you've matured into adulthood. You know, people say, and I've said this before as well, you know, the best way to learn a skill, do a little bit every single day until you're comfortable. The exception to that rule, because there is an exception to every rule, is Ontarians learning French. Because sincerely, unless you were in French immersion, which more power to you, that was when you took like multiple hours a week of class in French to make sure that you actually knew how to speak it. I don't remember very much. I remember in 9th grade, we've been taking some semblance of French class since like 1st grade. My 9th grade French exam was like the teacher holding up a picture of an apple and then being like, who can tell me something about the apple? And you're like, la pomme est rouge. And then she's like, very good, that'll be a B+. I'm not saying I got an A. I wasn't a diligent student in 9th grade, I'm embarrassed to admit, but a B+ seems about right. And if you need anything else, je voudrais un croissant plus grand, s'il vous plaît. And that's basically all, all you need to know. Je voudrais un gâteau plus grand, s'il vous plaît. You don't need to tell me I'm wrong. I'm going to tell you why. I already know I'm right. Charm tiers, useless. We're in a bit of a weird spot right now. Usually by the end of the first floor, you got a little bit more survivability. You know, we did get more HP, which is the literal definition of survivability, I suppose, but kind of trying to pick up Spirit Heart if one might exist somewhere. If not, and it appears that not is going to be the way that it goes here, I guess that what we will do is, well, be happy in many ways. You know, we have a chance at an arcade on the next floor, and we got enough HP to at least try to make something happen there. And then on top of that, we've got enough money to buy a Spirit Heart. But I don't want to do it yet. I want to wait until the next floor. Because if we can get a blood bag, it synergizes with Counterfeit Penny. There's a whole bunch of behind the scenes mumbo jumbo. That's not going to help us. That, you know, it's important to pay attention to the order in which we do things here. So, you know, I wanted to potentially get a blood bank, get up to 15 cents. If you get up to 15 cents, who knows what's going to happen. You could be able to buy a damage upgrade even. Already we're over 15 cents. I like the idea of there being a beside the scenes. Behind the scenes is like what you don't see when they're filming the movie. Beside the scenes is like something that's happening concurrently in a completely different area. It's like behind the scenes of the making of Titanic. Who knows? It could just be a kid playing Final Fantasy VII in his mom's basement. I can relate to that. Tech X, that's incredible. We do not want to go that way. And if you really want to, you know, contextualize it, I guess like almost everything you see is the beside the scenes of something else. You guys ever buy like digital deluxe versions of goods? I'm bringing it up because, you know what? I'll take it sight unseen. It's not terrible. Probably just about appropriate value. I bring it up because I bought Detroit, which is how you know you can trust my opinion. Unlike those other YouTube shills, I put in my own money in order to purchase it, and it definitely wasn't because I don't have a contact at Sony, because I shunned their entire generation between the PlayStation 3 and 80% of the PlayStation 4's lifespan in favor of PC gaming. It has nothing to do with that. And if you think it does, who knows? You might be a shill too. I'm not convinced. Okay, you're being a real jerk right now. We don't have many bombs, so I would slow my roll here if possible. Maybe get some red hearts. Maybe get some red hearts. Maybe get some red hearts. I think I'm just gonna leave. Very sorry about this, but if you liked it, then you should have put a ring on it. And by a ring, I mean a theme. Let's get the heck out of town. Still in a very, very delicate spot. But it was like, well, if you want to buy Detroit, $79.99. And before you go, I want you to remember, you know, it's Canada, so 70. I don't keep track of the exchange rate. I just enjoy the fact that because I get paid in American dollars, some months I have like a 30% raise for reasons that are beyond me as someone who took Macroeconomics 101 by correspondence in university. But it's roughly the equivalent of whatever you pay in America. Maybe we pay a little bit more some months. Maybe technically we pay a little bit less some months. But, you know, we're not getting gouged and we're not making a huge profit. I'll tell you that much. We're going to keep Satanic Bible, of course, here. It was like $79.99 for the game, but for $89.99 you can get the Digital Deluxe Edition. What's the Digital Deluxe Edition? It contained a digital art book. And I said, hold on, let me stop you right there. If that was in the game, at its normal price, I would not pay for it. Or I would not look it up. Not because I disrespect art, as you know. I respect art more than anybody I've ever met in my life, including myself. And if you gotta parse that sentence out, then good. That buys me a little bit of time to come up with a better explanation, doesn't it? It's just one of those things that it was like, it feels like it was a back-of-the-box feature for video games like 10 years ago. You know, you buy like Soul Calibur 2 and it's like sound effects menu, music test, and I'm like, you know, it's the kind of thing you've been playing the game so long you get bored of it. You go, I guess I'll check out what everything in the options menu does. Alright, I can make Ivy go, ha! Ho! Ha! You know, it's not really a feature so much as like, it's just cluttering up the main menu. Sometimes it goes in the options menu, but you get what I'm saying. I'm digressing a little bit here. Excuse me, can you get off my headphone cord, me, please? Thank you. I'm trying to make boss rush here. When did we get so many spirit arts? This is a dream come true. And then beyond that, it was like, it also comes with a Detroit avatar. And I was like, okay, now you're starting to get me because you're selling me stuff ironically. Obviously, I want to have an android as my avatar. It seems like the perfect thing. Back in my day, that probably... You know, when I was a teenager, at least that probably would have been free. But then when I became 20 years old, Microsoft would have charged you like $6 for it. So, as far as I'm concerned, you're pretty much in the clear on that one, but I'm not interested. And the other thing was like some PlayStation 4 Detroit theme. And I'm like, it's not real. I don't have a problem buying digital goods. And you want me to give you some examples that are going to make you mad? I bought Microsoft Office, at least a license, because everything's software as a service these days. Because I had a project for school that had to use, well, you didn't have to use PowerPoint, but it required making slides. And I was like, okay, I could learn how to use LaTeX, or I could use the OpenOffice variant, or because I'm already familiar with PowerPoint, I could just, you know, pay like $12 and technically rent Microsoft Office for a month. So that's what I did. I do the same thing with Photoshop. It's essentially a convenience fee, I'll admit. It's one of those things where, you know, you gotta start to consider, get out of jail free, right? You gotta start to consider the opportunity cost. It annoys me sometimes, because people go, why would you pay for Microsoft Office? You know, you could just learn to use OpenOffice, learn to use LaTeX, etc., etc. Why do you ever eat out in a restaurant? You know, why don't you just pack rice, beans, and lentils you bought at the grocery store from home? Don't you know you could be saving like $2 a meal bare minimum? Could be saving up to like $15 per meal, depending on how many lunches you're eating out and where you're doing it. Everybody in their lives makes compromises for convenience. And if you don't believe me, sacktown your internet access and go start picking up information from the library for free whenever you need something. That's not fair. The internet's a basic human... Okay, sure, it's a basic human right protected in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But you know what? If you're gonna fact check every metaphor, we're gonna be here for a long time. I'm just saying, you pay for a convenience sometimes. I'm paying to not have to learn how to use LaTeX or OpenOffice, and then at the same time, I'm paying Pluralsight to learn how to use things. It's a complicated system, okay? I don't know. I just hand an envelope full of receipts to a man in a large office building a couple times a year, and then it all works itself out. I hope. So yeah, I have no problem paying for convenience. I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. We're just verping verp pills. That's out of control. I almost want to go back in my own video. What was I talking about? This paying for convenience thing? Oh, the Detroit Deluxe Digital Downloadable Edition. Yeah, but it's just, you know, it's stuff I'm never going to look at. I don't think I've ever bought the deluxe edition of a game, physically speaking, and that at least comes with, you know, the steel book. Instead of coming in a flimsy old soft plastic translucent green case, it comes in a steel book. Years from now, when you live in a mansion with rich mahogany furniture, all the lesser gamers will be ashamed to display their games. The translucent green plastic cases, oh, it doesn't even block all the light. My disk data's gonna degrade. But you, the scholar, with the digital deluxe edition steelbook, people will think it's a real form of media such as a book. I'm just messing with you. Obviously, David Cage games aspire to a higher level of art than, you know, any other form of narrative media. So, anyway, I gotta be honest with you, that game's pretty good so far. And nobody wanted it to be a trash fire more than myself, because, I mean, basically I directly profit off of it being bad. But I'm also enjoying it for its surprising competency, and I'll be the person who says it, okay? Because I know everybody that's, like, begrudgingly admitted to liking Detroit so far, they have to do it in a way that lets their audience know, like, no, I'm still smart. I'm still, like, I'm smarter than the game. Which I find disrespectful and easy to make fun of, because it's very self-important, but maybe I'm in the same boat as well. They're always like, yeah, the game's pretty good, but the writing's still, it's really hokey. It's really ham-fisted. And I'm like, yeah, I get you. I don't know. In this industry, I'm like, there's so few opportunities for genuine compliments. I try not to be as shy as I used to be about giving them out. I've had a good time with Detroit so far. I'm eager to play more. Might go off the rails a little bit later, but those are my early impressions, you know, if you're interested. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna smelt and dealt. We're gonna smeal and deal. Depths 1, blank rune. Just use it. Hagalaz is trash. Store key, might as well. Did we even go? Yeah, we went to the item room. I think this run, we've been full on talking about not game stuff. For a run that was a little delicate 2 floors ago, it's unbelievably safe now. Tech X is incredible. Genuine 10 out of 10 item. Infestation 2 is a genuine 10 out of 10 item. And, you know, Humbling Bundle is great. Void is actually a really nice call here. Basically works the same as Satanic Bible, but it gives us a little bit of passive stat generation as well. And if you want to argue semantics about, you know, Tech X not being a 10 out of 10 item or Infestation 2 not being a 10 out of 10 item, you're welcome to in the comments below. That's what they're there for, based on recent history. Based on a long-running and storied history, really. But I don't know. You know, a 10 out of 10 item for me is an item single-handedly win you the game or come very close to it. I think Tech X is a better item than Infestation 2, but they're both really, really, really good. The only... Tech X, I think, speaks for itself. Infestation 2, you benefit from having a little bit of... It's like push-starting a car, you know? You need a little bit of momentum right at the start, but once you get it going, it's set. That's my opinion on that. But, like, you can't just sit... I guess it's unfair to say, you know, what a 10 out of 10 item is an item that can just win you the game. Because that's like saying, you know, a 10 out of 10 condiment is one you can eat on its own. To which I would reply, I think you know, some mustards out there are 10 out of 10, but if you eat them on their own, you might want to, you know, if you're not going to talk to a doctor, at least talk to somebody at TLC so they can make like a documentary about your tastes that we can watch. I didn't say laugh. I didn't say laugh. I just said watch, okay? It's really up to us how we engage with that media. You don't have ownership over that, so I'm sorry to tell you. But that's how I feel about it. I just like, when it comes to like digital deluxe, I don't know. I buy DLC on occasion, but it's, well, I'm trying to think of like some good examples of recent DLC purchases. People are gonna be mad. I've probably put like $30 to $40 into Fortnite. I bought 2 battle passes and a skin. Seems like roughly the right amount of money there. And I've gotten, like, I don't know, I'm not even gonna say it, because I feel, like, embarrassed to say that, like, I've gotten my money's worth, dude. I don't need to justify my purchases to you, I'm an adult. You can see for yourself, there's, like, 70 videos of Fortnite. It's like 20 cents a video is an operating expense. That's what I tell myself, and the man in the office building as well. You know what, we would really like to teleport out of Boss Rush, or do Boss Rush. We're so early, we got plenty of time. Beyond that, obviously, I bought Afterbirth Plus. I'm trying to think of other good examples. I like buying expansions for games that I enjoy. But sometimes, I'll admit, I've finished games and then been like, I am never going back to that again. Good example of a game that I'll go to bat for, and BioWare is not making a lot of friends lately. I'll be the first person to agree with you on that. I really like Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm going to couch that. I'm going to take host hat, of course, but I'm going to couch that in the embarrassing admission that I've never played Dragon Age Origins. But I really, really like Dragon Age Inquisition. I was engrossed in that game. It was my first Dragon Age game ever. When it finished, without spoiling anything, because I think there's a chance that that game, you know, still has people out there it hasn't caught, if it's going to catch him ever. There's some twists and turns it takes that are like, hey, we're assuming you've played the earlier games, and I was like, I haven't really, and I'm on the Dragon Age wiki, I'm like, who's this lady? You get the idea. And then the game ends with like a little stinger of like, ooh, this is what's gonna happen in the DLC, and I was like, oh, it's really cool. And then when the DLC came out 4 months later, I was like, I'm never playing this again. That was like 65 hours, are you kidding me? I'm missing out, like, I'm out of the story now. You kind of, I feel like it's, you know, it's like trying to get someone to buy a car right after the test drive. You know, they still got the thrill of driving Elon Musk's love machine around. Why not? But also, let's just take the stats. Yeah, they still got the thrill of driving the car in their veins. There we go. And they're more easily swayed. And then, like, 2 months later, they've gone back. They had a talk with their partner. They're like, we can't afford $100,000 for a car. Are you kidding me? And they're, you know, you missed your window. I'm sorry to tell you. I don't expect the DLC to be ready, like, as the game is over. That's kind of, like, on the player. You know, if you're that kind of player, you should avoid playing it until a Game of the Year edition comes out, which, you know, as I understand it, a lot of people do, and more power to you. I didn't. Just, it's tough, you know, to... When there's a story-based game and you're really into it, then 9 months later they're like, the continuation, but only for a little bit, of the story you were sort of into last spring, but your life has changed a little bit since then, so who knows where you're at. Remember this person? And I'm like, sort of? Are they the elf? I'm down with, like, mechanical expansions. Expansions that build upon, you know, that iterate upon the mechanics of the game. You know, a great example? FTL Advanced Edition. Obviously, there's Isaac examples as well, but FTL Advanced Edition was sick. It was an example of a mechanical expansion done right, for sure. An example of a mechanical expansion done wrong? I think I'll hold my tongue. My mother said, if you ain't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all. And those are words that I'm going to continue to live by. And I'm just going to keep extending my dialogue a little bit longer to hope that you might infer an opinion of what I'm trying to get at here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So that was meant to be a bit of a self-aware barb at Afterbirth Plus, but I actually think Afterbirth Plus is fine. The last booster did a lot of good, but there's no doubt that, like, I was coming close to some fatigue. Not with Isaac itself, but with the fact that, you know, Afterbirth Plus had just added so many items that are garbage that don't do anything except meme on you. You know, you picked up the dab on the haters, plus 0.1 range. Oh, amazing. You know, so I think I was probably being a little unfair in my criticism at times when I was playing before the booster pack came out. I never really went over the top. I mean, a game like this, I love it. I really don't want to be an angry gamer. I watch other streams sometimes, and this is why, I don't know, like I've been making more wisecracks at the expense of other people that stream and do YouTube without naming names, because, I mean, so many of them, myself included, a lot of the time fall into this category. But I watch people play a game, and then, like, the option that they're looking for isn't in the right spot in the options menu. And they go, why would you put it here? That's so stupid. And I'm like, that's so, that's so disrespectful. I get it. That's not where you thought the options menu would be. That's fine. You know, if we're being honest, there's probably a discussion between the team members about where to put that thing. And, you know, many people brought up where they wanted it. And then eventually they either decided on it democratically, or the person signing the check said, nah, subtitles go in the display menu instead of the sound menu. And that's the way it went down. You know, it's not that big of a deal. I cringe sometimes, like, especially, like, AAA, I'm not going to say, you know, to heck with them. But it's a different beast, you know, because it's, and please don't take this as me saying that indie games are above criticism. It's not the case. But I think there's a difference between, you know, unnecessary griping and fair criticism that actually is constructive, or at least informative to the consumer. So with AAA stuff, you know, if you're playing a new game and you're like, this voice acting is a little whack. I'm like, yeah, you know, this company, they have an obligation to their shareholders. If the game stinks, just dunk on them. Dunk on them for whatever. Who cares? You know? To some extent. Not fully. But when there's like an indie dev and, like, you know, there's probably like 2 people streaming the game, and they're like, I know they're popping in and being like, wonder how these guys like my game. I spent my life savings on it and quit my job in 2 years of my life, and they're complaining that the map is too large. Okay, I'll just go die now. You know, I try to, and I'll fully admit, you know, I think to some extent I'm a soft critic. But I'm a soft critic in what I would consider to be, like, my own unique way. Like, for mechanics, I'm soft. As long as the game has interesting mechanics, I'm usually, like, somewhat in. Like, we played a lot of straight garbage on the NLSS that I have been like, nah, dude, it's fun. And I genuinely believe it. But when you know, what I'm not a soft critic about is story, much to the chagrin of a lot of people watching the stream, because I'm very judgmental with games writing, and I'm not sure if it's because the writing tends to be a lower standard than in other mediums, although I think it has gotten a lot better. And I do recognize the irony in this coming from somebody who watches a lot of Marvel movies and enjoys them, but I don't enjoy them necessarily oh my god, what the sub-themes that T'Challa evokes in Black Panther are similar to the Dostoevsky, the Brothers Karamazov. No, it's not like that. It's like, you know, yo, that's epic. It's more a base level, like, spinal cord sort of reaction. But I think I could be nicer, but whenever a game opens with, like, a slow title crawl, 3,000 years ago in the realm of Kharazim, there lived a... I'm like, oh, just at least let me walk around before you inundate me with this story you wrote for the first time when you were 16 and then held on to it forever, knowing eventually you might work in the industry. Like, I'm not saying I don't care, I'm just saying give me a chance to care. But perhaps I'm embodying the very rudeness that I sought to eradicate moments earlier. So we're gonna go. I'm not going to fight Hush. I have tons of keys. I already did boss rush though, and you know, as we approach the merging of these save files, I gotta be a little bit more delicate. And that's not to say I'm gonna abstain from Zane. Keep in mind, you know, your boy made this run work with 1 HP. He picked up the Void. He did Boss Rush, despite, you know, there being no obligation to do Boss Rush. So the Zane is alive. I can feel it breathing. However, I don't know how we're gonna do this when it comes to the save file merging, so I'm just kind of like rolling with it for now. It's gonna be like a holding pattern for a week or so. And by a holding pattern, I mean 2 videos a day. That's my version of a holding pattern. I was freaking out, right? So, I don't know how many of you watching this do YouTube stuff for yourself. But, you know, normally I have a workflow that I've developed from doing this for 100 years. It's, you know, wake up in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, see what the newest YouTube news is, freak out, prognosticate about how this means the end of the platform that I've known and loved for years, and then, you know, get some work done. So I go to my video page, and I set my uploads, you know? And there's... You know, very, very rarely is it that I record a video and then I upload it and then I make it live. You know, the way that it works is that I'm like a squirrel storing nuts for the winter, right? Any series has between a 1 to 30 day backlog. 30 is extremely rare, but so is 1, to be honest with you. So I go in and I go, okay, what's the most recent Isaac episode? Then find the Isaac episode that's uploaded just after that and make it live, etc., etc. So while I've been doing 2 Isaac videos a day, I haven't had to record anything for the other save file at all, because the backlog has been enormous, because I falsely assumed that this game was almost done with content, you know? Which I'm glad it isn't, for many reasons, but I digress. It's tangential to the point I'm making at the present moment. And this is inside baseball. It's not going to be relevant to that many people, but if it gives you some perspective. So, those videos are now on the 7th or 8th page of my video library on YouTube internal, which means that there's been somewhere between 210 and 240 videos that haven't gone live, but that have, like, been uploaded and are ready to go live, and most of them have, but there's, you know, a lot that haven't as well, between baseball, Slay the Spire, booster pack episodes, NLSS's God of War, Detroit, Fortnite, and so be it. I don't necessarily need this. So, really, like, since the last episode I recorded for the... I don't want to call it vanilla, but you know what I mean. For the vanilla Isaac file, I've recorded like 200 videos. That's stupid. I saw that, and rarely does this happen. I saw that, and I was like, that's dumb. I'm excited because that backlog has been exhausted, more or less, and I can get back to, you know, not reaching back into, like, April for videos. Mostly just because, you know, who knows what kind of references I put in there that are going to be irrelevant now. So, you guys excited about the NHL playoffs starting up? You know, it's rarely are those references current to begin with, but, and that's kind of, again, irrelevant to the content of the show to begin with, but you get what I'm saying, I hope. It's nice to be, you know, putting out fresher stuff, but it's kind of the nature of the beast if you want to put out stuff consistently. You know, I consider myself an essential service, much like the fire department, and the fire department doesn't go, oh, there's a fire, better go buy some water, you know? There's just water available. It's going through the pipes and the hydrants at every available opportunity, just in case they need to pull from it. So, much like, you know, the hospital or the sewer, probably the sewer is a better analogy, there's always some videos around. Which is nice. It's also nice to have a very quick... It's like I have a long Saturday, dude. Every Saturday, at least until this class is done, so... It's the rare video where, like, I'm recording my first video of the day at, like, 3 p.m. But I've been up since 8. It's nice to have your first video of what might be a longish day be an easy one. That being said, I'm slowly losing my mind. I'm not worried at all about walking into these guys. Our HP is so strong for many reasons. Remember, we got Satanic Bible sucked up. Worst case scenario. Kind of losing my mind we couldn't find the boss until then, but now we have found the boss. I do like Bomber Boy. Do we have bomb synergies apart from... Apart from Bomber Boy? I don't think so. We do have, host heads, so we take no damage from bombs. It's just a different way of killing this boss, basically, at this point. Another easy run, but a fun one, and one that was a little bit tense to start with. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.